So today we have Faith and Curls here. Appreciate your time, Larry. And what we wanted to do is spend some time talking about your experiences. Something I like to pitch on the way I think about coaching. It's about transforming founders from that operational role to founders becoming that investment role, right? In a way, it's like how to scale yourself out of your business. And so it would be really helpful today to give a little background of what you do, what you thought you knew when you were going to the business, then we can walk towards what was the first problem that we engaged
Yeah,
and where
sure.
we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I am Larry. I'm a salon owner, Faith and Curls, and I originally requested your services for help with selling the salon because things were getting a little bit too hectic, too out of control, didn't know what was going on, and pressure was building up. And the lease in the building that we were in was about to close. So we looked to you to help us sell the business. But then after talking and after you looked at it some more, that was when you said that, yeah, there's some potential here, and perhaps it's not a problem of the business itself, but the way we were operating the business and how we were functioning with the business that was the problem.
I think that's really interesting in a way that, maybe I'm unorthodox a
Yeah.
little bit. Right? You hire me to do one job, and I'm like, wait, you should do something else. But I think would be really helpful to kind of share a little bit like, what do you think you knew about the business when you went in, and what do you think you understand about it right
Well,
now?
I feel like I thought I knew not a whole bunch about business world, but I think I knew enough to kind of keep things afloat. And that would include like small accounting things like Excel, normal calculations, things like that. But then after talking with you, after coaching some more, I see that I only knew very little compared to what there is to know. And that was very beneficial. So, for instance, with QuickBooks, that was one thing, and doing finances, you kind of expanded my knowledge and my scope of understanding when it came to finances, talking about marketing, customer journey, so many things that many business owners would need to know. But if coming from my perspective of just owning a salon, just coming in, making sure the people in the chair and just leaving, that's kind of what your focus is. But there's much more that goes to that. And that's what I've been learning and have learned.
That's cool. If you could give like someone listening to this, what did you think you knew about finance and what changed what you know about finance
Yeah,
right
well,
now?
I think as it relates to finances, I felt that I knew basic accounting, basic taxes, basic budgeting, but at a very basic level that it's not what the business required. When it came to accounting, however, I think now I'm seeing the number one, the importance of accounting and the importance of finance, how it's not just a once a month look at the numbers, see how we're doing. It's a daily thing to see how we're tracking, meeting goals. We talked about KPIs, those key performance indicators that are important. In the past, I would have just been satisfied looking at the numbers and just seeing all our expenses and seeing all of our income and seeing the difference and seeing if we were in the positive or in the negative. But seeing that when you have these performance indicators, you're looking for something specific. You're looking for target numbers. You're seeing if you're going to reach those goals because those goals can dictate how your business is going to grow or not grow in the future. And that was one big thing as it relates to marketing and the importance of receipt keeping, bookkeeping. It's not just make purchases and then just categorize them in QuickBooks at the end of the month, but it's having the right categories, it's tracking those finances, attaching the receipts, and all of that accountability.
I would say one of the main changes I've seen in you, you thought about just looking at how much money you make, how much money you're,
Yeah.
wasting in a way or using, and then seeing how much money is, at the end of the month left
Exactly.
for you. But I think with time, the biggest growth mindset I've seen in you is now you understand it's not just about what the numbers you're seeing, but what are the drivers that make
Yeah.
these numbers. And then we essentially materialize these things into a
Mhm.
KPI, right? And so now you understand how to look at KPIs and understand what to
Yeah.
do with it, right? So just understanding that you have to have good numbers or maintaining good QuickBooks is just part of the
Exactly.
process for you to be able to make that
Exactly.
decisions that how to
And
run the
what makes
business,
a good
right?
number? Like you're saying, the drivers to let me know what a good number is. Because one thing I used to do is just look at the money in the bank account and say, all right, we're good, or okay, no, we're not good. But that's not necessarily the truth, you know?
Correct. And it also helps you navigate the challenges, right? Moving a little bit to
Mhm.
marketing. I remember you came one day and you said, "Hey, I should focus on more of like SEO marketing because someone
Yeah.
told me to," right?
I got a content calendar, and on one of the days it said to make a blog. And I was talking to you about the blog, and this touches also on cost of time, which is another big subject too. But you said that, well, do blogs normally bring traffic? Like, where are you getting your most traffic? Where are you getting the most bookings from? And that's where you should focus, not on blog just because it seems good or it was recommended by someone. And also the cost of my time. Like, how much time would it take me to create a blog to put out to people that may or may not read? And even if they do read, it doesn't guarantee that they'll book. And that goes to the customer journey, like who's that blog reaching? The decision phase, awareness phase. But if I spend that same amount of time doing something that I know works, then I'll get a better return on my investment.
Yeah, I think it's like a couple points to what you're saying. First, by learning how to read the numbers, you understood what is a performance for,
Yeah,
whatever you're doing, right? In that case, it's like paid ads versus organic ads. In principle, you would think that organic ads are essentially free, right? So that's why we're like scared of using paid ads because we're like, hey, if I do like this and I, rank number one on Google, I can get this. And then because you learn about the cost
right.
of your time, you could compare apples
Yeah,
to apples, right? Even though like the ad costs you this much to do organic SEO strategy will cost you this much time, and therefore if I multiply by the cost of my time, I have an apples to apples
exactly.
comparison, right? And then with my performance of each things, you'll understand like how much does it make sense for me to keep
Exactly.
investing at
Because
this,
at the end
right?
of the day,
And so
anytime the clock is ticking and you're working, you're spending money, whether you're spending it from your bank account or just from what you could be making by what you're doing.
yeah. And also something that came during our sessions was about the scalability of the business, right? So I remember we're
Mhm.
talking about how much
Yes.
money you want to make and then understanding the capacity of the business, right? And then understanding how to even look at process, the cost of each role. And right now we're looking at
Mhm.
AI and booking and replacing receptionists with fully
Yeah.
automated software. I think that's sort of like the thing that I see the biggest growth in you. It may seem silly, right? Talk about do you
Mhm.
understand the
Yeah.
numbers? But now that you understand the numbers, you start looking at
Yeah,
ROI
exactly.
everywhere and decisions that
Yeah.
make it
You're
easier.
right. My mind, what I'm doing is the mind is always thinking like, okay, is this the best use of my time for the business? Like I think one time I was working on some social media post and it took quite a bit of time to like find inspiration and make it happen and all that stuff. And the post did pretty well, but then out of the people who viewed it, how many people actually clicked the link in the bio? How many people actually booked? And if you don't know that number, first of all, if you don't know, then it's almost a waste of your time in that case too. But I could have easily just put that same amount of money or same amount of time that I put into that ad into a paid ad or into something that I know would profit and just immediately get what I'm looking for.
Right. And fast forward today, we almost are not having a sales problem. We're having a problem of how to
Exactly.
service that
Yeah.
many leads. So, like, in a way, if you don't understand how to prioritize, because the
Yeah.
work never ends, it's like you solve one problem and
Yeah.
another one comes. And if you don't know how to look at the numbers, you have to
Exactly.
prioritize things, right?
Oh, for
You
sure.
get
For sure.
burnt
And there's
out.
so many different fires to put out. And some you need to put out right now, others can wait, and others you plan for it or delegate for sure.
And so, to kind of finish off with a little piece of hope, what's next for you? What do you see going on right now? How do you see growth
Right
in your
now with
business?
growth, definitely operating at a higher capacity, and just to touch on that really quickly, the mindset is, ooh, I want to make this much money. I want to make this much money in the business. But then the question is, can you actually make that money? Like as a salon owner, okay, I want to make $1 million, but do I have enough chairs, enough hours in the day to service that? So understanding that, number one, but definitely reaching a higher capacity in our salon. And after that, potentially opening other franchises, working with that. That's what it's looking like in the future.
And it's interesting because in the end of the day, you learn how to manage by the
Mhm.
numbers or
Yeah.
with the numbers, right? And then,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, you want to keep growing in terms of revenue or either through franchises or anything. Next thing, it's about
Yeah.
growing talent, right? Like you become a
Exactly.
bottleneck. And if you don't know how to run the business with the numbers as your
Mhm.
partner, you start seeing that talent
I
as
see, yeah.
cost, and you're not seeing that as how much money can they help you
Exactly,
bring,
exactly, that
right?
growth mindset. Instead of thinking of loss, thinking in terms of growth.
Right, and then so now you start thinking like, if I have this employee for this many dollars, I know that if they work 8 hours, they're gonna bring
Mhm.
me so many dollars. And then, for instance, something we talk about, at some point, you're gonna start working as like a growth master of that business. So you can't keep
Yeah,
being the
exactly.
manager of the
Yeah.
salon anymore. Is there any words of support or suggestions that you could give anyone that's sort of in your shoes that you learned that you think it's worth for them to like
Yeah,
some words
say
of advice?
one, if you feel like you're continually hitting a brick wall with the growth of your business, before closing it down or jumping to conclusions, find someone who can really analyze it from a business perspective because a lot of salon owners aren't like business people, or people managing salons aren't necessarily business people. So if you get someone like that who can really dive into the business and see really where the leaks are coming from and how to make it better, then you can still keep the dream alive that you have in your heart for the business and see it reach the goals that you want it to reach. So it's definitely possible.
That's amazing. I would compliment saying business is something we
Yeah,
can definitely learn. The passion that you have for your business is something we cannot
yeah,
learn. I cannot teach for you to be
yeah,
passionate about business, but learning, read numbers, manage your business, grow your business, those business side is just, a skill
yeah,
that
for
everyone
sure,
can
for
pick it
sure.
up, right? Fantastic. I
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you
your
so much.
time
Thank you.
and have a good one. Bye.